Howdy everyone, it's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. We're only 4 weeks away until playoffs begin. And last weekend, I got myself 7 correct tips, but 6 incorrect tips. I went 7 and 6 last weekend, and that was my worst effort, unfortunately, for 2022. From now on, for 1 month, it is a full weekend fixture, 16 games every weekend, Thursday through till Monday, including Saturday starting this weekend. How friggin' good. Let's go, man. The run to the playoffs really does begin now. Week 15 of the 2022 NFL season starts on Friday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. It is an NFC West rivalry matchup. The Seattle Seahawks take on the San Francisco 49ers from Lumen Field. And the Seattle Seahawks come into the game, the home side, as $2.52 outsiders. The San Francisco 49ers $1.53 favorites, and I think those odds are fair enough. However, you throw those odds, you throw form straight out the window when it comes to these rivalry games, in particularly, if you know what I mean, between the Seahawks and the 49ers. One of, in my opinion, maybe a little bit of bias, but it is one of the best rivalries in all of NFL. Just some of the history between these two sides, just to start off with. The result earlier this season was 27 points to 7 down at San Francisco. San Francisco won. It is the biggest winning margin. It is the biggest margin between these two sides since 2018. And that's because 6 or so games over the past 3 or 4 years, the margin has been no more than 10 points. So it's always been close, especially over the past decade, I would say. So the blowout between these two sides earlier this year was a rarity, and I think it will stay rare, because I think this is going to be a close encounter this Friday morning. Seattle Seahawks coming into this game, or coming into the previous game back in week 2, had won 6 of the previous 8 encounters between the San Francisco 49ers. So they do have the wood well and truly over the 49ers. Now, speaking of the 49ers again, team list news, Deebo Samuel had to be carted off last week. He's a wide receiver, sometimes can be a running back for him, and he was coming up, well, not coming back, but he's had a couple of injuries in his career so far, and he copped another one, looking like an ankle injury. Hopefully it's not too bad, and hopefully he can come back before the playoffs come about. But he will be missing for the 49ers this weekend. And obviously the man that everyone is talking about is Brock Purdy, the last spot in the draft this year. And it took Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo injuries, unfortunately, for him to come in. And he's now 2-0. He took on Tom Brady last weekend, and the 49ers absolutely pulverized the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks last weekend, disappointing, bro. Really, really disappointing. They didn't come out of the blocks quick enough, and the Seattle Seahawks went down to, of all sides, the Carolina Panthers, 30 points to 24. It was only 6 weeks ago I was saying that the Panthers were the worst team in all of NFL. Fair dinkum. And just before this weekend came about, I was looking at some of the stats between these two sides, and offensively, the Seattle Seahawks are a little bit better, or they were a little bit better, because again, I must reiterate, the San Francisco 49ers won 35 points to 7 this past weekend over Tom Brady's Bucks. And that pretty much evens itself out offensively between the Seahawks and the 49ers now, statistically. And defensively, I've been saying it for weeks, and everybody knows now that the 49ers defensively are much better. But again, it's a rivalry game. Form goes way out the window. Seattle Seahawks, they have to keep winning. They have to win this game to keep their playoff hopes well and truly alive. And I'm going to do that. Come on, boys. Come on. Seattle Seahawks to win this one in a thriller, 1-12. In the first of 3 Saturday night fixtures or Saturday fixtures in the NFL, Minnesota Vikings host the Indianapolis Colts from US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the Vikings are $1.49 favorites. The Colts are $2.65. There is an absolutely incredible stat between these two sides. So this is the first matchup between these two since week 2 of 2020, and that was in Indianapolis, and the Colts got the Vikings on that occasion. The Minnesota Vikings have not defeated the Indianapolis Colts since 1997 in the final week of that year's regular season. The Minnesota Vikings have hosted the Colts. They've gone down to Indianapolis. There's been about 6 or 7, maybe 8 contests between these two franchises since Minnesota Vikings' last victory over the Colts, and they've lost every single time, man. It's absolutely an amazing stat. So we could see some history this weekend. Now, the Indianapolis Colts are coming off the bye, but before they went on the bye, they got killed by the Dallas Cowboys. They were in it with 2 points with a quarter to go, and they ended up conceding 33 points in the final quarter to lose something like 55-21 or something to that effect. The Indianapolis Colts, they've been really disappointing this season. And for the Minnesota Vikings, they traveled to Detroit last weekend and got pantsed. They lost to the Detroit Lions, and the calls are growing louder. And I said it a couple of weeks ago as well, the Vikings, man, I'm not on that hype train, and a lot of people aren't, and that loss to the Detroit Lions last weekend has solidified just a little bit more why we're all not getting too hyped up about the Vikings. But they're back home. They would have been embarrassed about what's happened. I hope that they know that piece of history that lies ahead, because they can be the first Minnesota team to beat an Indianapolis Colts side since 1997. So Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to say 1-12 because I don't trust them to do the 13+ job, and plus I don't think they've won too many times this year, 13+. So Minnesota Vikings to get the job done on Saturday football or Sunday morning football here in Australia. The second Saturday game is from Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns host the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns are coming into the game as the favorites, $1.56. The Ravens are $2.44, and that mostly comes because Lamar Jackson is going to miss out this weekend again. And not that the Baltimore Ravens overly missed him last weekend, they did defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, the Ravens did. So, and that was without Lamar Jackson. So that's a good morale boosting victory for that franchise. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson's there, knocked off some rust against the Houston Texans, and he's obviously still a bit rusty because they went down to the Cincinnati Bengals last weekend in the Ohio Derby, losing by 13 points. So it did bridge onto that 13+ points margin, didn't it? This is always a tough game to pick. This is an AFC divisional rivalry matchup. The Browns at $1.56, man. I think they can do it. The Baltimore Ravens, by reports, not that I unfortunately haven't watched it, but by reports, the Baltimore Ravens were kind of gifted the victory last weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers quarterback, and just the Steelers in general, sort of had a bit of a bugger that day, unfortunately. The Cleveland Browns, man, they still were able to put up a couple of points against the Cincinnati Bengals. It is in front of their home fans, and look, man, I'm crazier things have happened, so I'm going to go the Cleveland Browns to defeat the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. And the main event on Super Saturday this weekend, or Sunday morning here in Australia, as it were, is an AFC East showdown. The Buffalo Bills host the Miami Dolphins, and the Bills are $1.29 favorites. The Dolphins are $3.62 outsiders. These two sides met earlier this year, and the Dolphins won in front of their home fans. 21 points to 19, I reckon the score was back then. And unfortunately, the form of the Dolphins has dipped, but this still doesn't take away from this being a massive, intriguing game. For example, Tyreek Hill versus Stephon Diggs in the wide receiver department. You've also got Josh Allen versus Tua Tagovailoa as well. But I just think that the Buffalo Bills, man, they had their mid-season slump, and it just feels like that they're starting to get things back on track. They had a bit of a fight on their hands last week against the Jets, but last weekend the Dolphins, they had an upset loss against the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think $3.62, it's pretty big on the Dolphins, but such is the form of the Buffalo Bills to win this one 1-12. Now we get into the Sunday fixtures for the NFL, and the first contest is from Soldier Field in Chicago. The Chicago Bears are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, the mighty Philadelphia Eagles at the moment. And the Philadelphia Eagles come into the game as $1.23 favorites, whereas the Chicago Bears are $4.25. The last time that these two sides met was in 2019. Philadelphia won that matchup. The last time Chicago defeated Philadelphia in general was in 2016. But Philadelphia have traveled to Chicago on numerous occasions since 2010 and have always got the job done. So in front of their home fans, Chicago have not defeated Philadelphia in front of their home fans since the year 2010. And I think, unfortunately, that streak is going to continue for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the best team in all of NFL at the moment. Quarterback Jalen Hurts is absolutely destroying it and is definitely a level above. Well, not a level above, but I think he's got his nose in front of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen as far as the MVP race goes. But the Bears, man, they've been plucky over the past month or so, especially young man Justin Fields up in quarterback for the Bears. I think because the Bears are also coming off the bye and a close loss to the Green Bay Packers, I think they'll have a nice, decent fight, but I think just the class and the power and the skills of the Philadelphia Eagles will overrun the Bears in the end, and the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, will win this one 13+. And I reckon this is the game of the round. This is absolutely enormous. The New York Jets are hosting the Detroit Lions at MetLife Stadium. The New York Jets on sportsbet.com.au are $1.89 favorites. The Detroit Lions are $1.91 outsiders. The last time that these two sides met was in 2018 in Detroit, and the New York Jets, defeated the Detroit Lions then. This is the first trip to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets for the Detroit Lions since 2014, and on that occasion they won. What I'm getting at is that the past three encounters since 2010 between these two sides, the away side has won. And if that trend continues, the Detroit Lions are going to get the dub. I cannot make this any clearer. I cannot understate this. This is enormous. Both these sides are just on or just in the bubble of the top 7 NFC bracket. And the winner of this, not that it will solidify their playoff chances, but it's going to go such a long way. This is basically, in rugby league terms, 8th versus 9th with about 3 weeks to go. This is a massive game between the Jets and the Lions. And while the Jets' defense is better than the Lions, the Detroit offense has been electric over the past 6 or so weeks. The Jets are not in great touch. They have lost 2 or 3 in a row. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions, it's something like they've won 5 or 6 in a row. So does it come to a head where the Jets crack for a victory, or do the Lions keep on winning? I think that because the Detroit Lions have been together as a unit a year further, the Jets, they're still young, they're still got a gel, and they're doing magnificently well enough as it is. But I'm going to go the outsider, and as the outsiders by only a couple of cents, the Detroit Lions are going to travel to New York, and they're going to defeat the Jets, in my opinion, simply because their attack, their heart is pumping big time at the moment. Lions fans, man, if they get this victory, Detroit is going to turn into that Rock City, like Detroit Rock City, big time, baby. Then we're off to the Bank of America Stadium to see the Carolina Panthers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Carolina Panthers are coming into the game as favorites in at $1.73, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are $2.12 outsiders. That is really nice value on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, I said earlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers went down in a close game in front of their home fans against the arch enemy, Baltimore Ravens, losing by 2 points. And by all reports, the Pittsburgh Steelers, if passes stuck, if intercepts weren't thrown, if the Steelers just had a more switched on, crisp day, they probably would have gotten away with the dub. And it sucks because I did tip them as well, and I don't ever like tipping Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're the outsiders in this game going to Carolina. And Carolina, I really don't know how they've found themselves form again. Yes, Sam Darnold is out there at quarterback. Christian McCaffrey is gone. There is a Baker Mayfield is also gone. There's a bit of dead wood that has been burnt to ashes over the past couple of weeks out there at Carolina, North Carolina, I should say. But just reading into the history between these two franchises, the Carolina Panthers have only defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers once since their inception in 1995, and that was all the way back in their second season, 1996. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the daddy of the Carolina Panthers. So, look, man, they might be the favorites here, but I'm going to lean towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the way that they lost, reading it up, I think is going to sting them a bit. I think they'll come out better. And Carolina Panthers, I don't trust them. I know that they traveled to Seattle and defeated the Seahawks last weekend, but they started leaking some points big time in that game too. So they only just got away with it after leading kind of comfortably at halftime. So I'm going to go the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one away from home, 1-12. NRG Stadium is the next venue, and it's Houston Texans hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is the biggest money so far this weekend. The Chiefs are $1.11 favorites. The Texans are $6.70 outsiders. And these two sides have had some ding-dong battles in the past, or not ding-dong battles, but like there's just a bit of pepper between these two sides. Not a rivalry, but just a bit of pepper. So the record stands at 5 wins from 7 matches for the Kansas City Chiefs. So they do lead that head-to-head. And there has been a couple of playoff matches between these two sides. The last time that these two sides did indeed meet was week 1 of 2020, and the Chiefs did win on that occasion. Look, Texans, man, they are still sitting on 1 win, 12 losses and 1 draw or something like that. But man, as a 1-win team with 4 weeks to go, I think that they've at times been better than their record suggests. Because at one stage, the Carolina Panthers were rudderless, absolutely, pretty strong word, but pathetic. But against the Dallas Cowboys, they showed their heart again, the Houston Texans. They nearly defeated the Dallas Cowboys away from home, man. And if it wasn't for the last couple of seconds, if the game was only 2 minutes shorter, the Texans would have won that game, man. So good on the Houston Texans for showing some pride in that Texas Classic last weekend. And then for the Kansas City Chiefs, man, I don't know, dude. Like, they are definitely top 5 teams in the NFL. Definitely. They are huge Super Bowl contenders. But it just seems like this year, man, the games that they seem like they should win handsomely, the Kansas City Chiefs make it really hard for themselves, bro. So defensively, the Chiefs let in 28 points against the Denver Broncos last weekend and nearly coughed up a 21 or 27 point lead against the Broncos. And you know how I feel, or how everybody else feels about the Broncos in season 2022. Like, fair dinkum, what are you doing, Kansas City? But in front of their home fans, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be too powerful for the Houston Texans, and they'll win this one by 13 plus. In an NFC South divisional rivalry matchup, the New Orleans Saints host the Atlanta Falcons, and the New Orleans Saints are the favorites at $1.48. The Falcons are $2.67. Both of these sides are coming off the bye. Previous to the bye, both these sides came off really close losses. More devastatingly so for the New Orleans Saints, who had the lead right up until the 3-second mark with only 3 seconds to go in that final quarter. So New Orleans Saints copping a really hard loss. Meanwhile, the Falcons went down in front of their home fans to the Steelers 2 weeks ago. The last time that these two sides met was in week 1, and the Saints won on the final play of the game, winning 27 points to 26 due to a field goal. I think the Falcons can get their victory back. I'm going to tip the Atlanta Falcons to win this one 1-12. Then we're off to Mile High Stadium. The Denver Broncos are hosting the Arizona Cardinals, and the Broncos are $1.87 favorites. The Arizona Cardinals are $1.93 outsiders. 2018 was the last time that these two sides met. That was in Arizona, and Denver won. The Arizona Cardinals last defeated the Denver Broncos in 2010, and the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals franchise in general, from the time that they changed from St. Louis Cardinals to the Arizona Cardinals in 1986, the Arizona Cardinals franchise have never won in Denver. The St. Louis Cardinals as well, the Cardinals franchise have never won in Denver. And based off today's result, quarterback Kyler Murray had to be carted off due to an injury. So, and they ended up going down to the New England Patriots as well by 13 odd points. They're going to have their second string quarterback up against the Denver Broncos in Denver at Mile High. And I think the margin at this rate is going to balloon out before kickoff, in my opinion. So Denver Broncos, I think they're going to win this one 1-12. Allegiant Stadium is the next venue. We see the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the New England Patriots, and the Raiders are $1.80 favorites. The Patriots are $2.01 outsiders. I don't know. I don't know why the Raiders are $1.80 favorites. I don't. The Patriots offensively are not as good or is not as potent as the Raiders, but defensively, surely the Patriots deserved at least to be $1.90 each way against the Raiders. This is a massive last chance roll of the dice, man, for the Las Vegas Raiders. They do have more points in them than the New England Patriots, but I'm just simply not going to tip the Raiders. I just give up. I can't tip them. If they win, good on you, but you've already completely effed your season anyway, Las Vegas. So New England Patriots, they're going to go to Allegiant Stadium and they're going to get the job done 1-12. If they don't, like, seriously, I just don't care. Like, I can't stand the Patriots. And the Las Vegas Raiders, they had it in the bag the other day against the Los Angeles Rams. They had it and they absolutely burnt it. They cooked it and then they burnt it to an absolute crisp. So I'm going to tip the New England Patriots to win this one 1-12. Speaking of games where who the hell knows what's going to happen, the Los Angeles Chargers are hosting the Tennessee Titans. And to be honest with you guys, on sportsbet.com.au, for some reason, this is the only game that does not have any odds about it. But in my opinion, I think it would look something like $1.80 to the Los Angeles Chargers, $2 about the Tennessee Titans. That's how I would have it. The Tennessee Titans, man, are falling. They are rolling downhill at a rapid rate. Big time, man. Derrick Henry is still about, but he's not getting involved, or he's just not having as much potency in attack. And then the Los Angeles Chargers, man, Look, they defeated the Miami Dolphins, who the Dolphins were one of the better teams in the NFL, probably top 10, arguably top 5 in all of NFL, and the Chargers, with a really weak, well, not a really depleted defensive unit, got the job done against arguably the best attacking side in all of NFL. Fair dinkum, Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders, and now to a degree Tennessee Titans, like, just stay away or keep the defibrillators out just in case, like, fair dinkum. But these two sides last met in 2019, and I was in Tennessee, and Tennessee won. The last time that the Chargers defeated the Titans was at Wembley Stadium in 2018, and this is the second time that the Titans will have played at SoFi Stadium as well. I want to tip the Los Angeles Chargers, but I feel like that maybe the Miami Dolphins are starting to run out of gas as well. The Titans, man, but how can you trust them when they went down to the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think it was 33 points to 20 or something, a scoreline like that to that effect. This is a really hard game to tip, man. Like, you may as well just flip a coin. Honest to goodness, you may as well flip a coin. But I just keep thinking and looking at the defensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers and think, yeah, I know you got the job done against Miami Dolphins, but they're depleted by at least 6. But Justin Herbert, he's doing such good things for that franchise, man. He busts his backside off every single week. Look, I don't want to, but I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to tip the Los Angeles Chargers to defeat the Tennessee Titans in front of their home fans. And if they win, and they'd be hoping for a Las Vegas Raiders victory as well, but Los Angeles Chargers, if they win, playoff hopes are still well and truly alive. In the third last game of the weekend, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are $2.62 outsiders. The Bengals are $1.50 favorites coming into the game. And at the start of the year, this is one of those games where everybody had hoped that this would be pretty much, in NRL terms, 4th versus 5th or something to that effect. And oh man, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, bro. Wow. Tom Brady. Wow. There are sort of rumors beginning that he is going to go another year next season, but it won't be with the Buccaneers. So man, he wants to finish off on a strong note, but I think you'd need to just pull the pin while the going's good, or as good as it can be, Tom Brady, bro. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals, bro, they are looking more and more like the Super Bowl team from last season. They're doing pretty good, man. They're just about back. They didn't win convincingly last week against the Cleveland Browns in front of their home fans, but the Cincinnati Bengals, bro, they have definitely found form, and it's so good to see finally, bro. Seriously. The last time these two sides met was in Cincinnati, and that was in 2018. The Bengals won on that occasion. In 2014, they traveled down to Tampa Bay. The Bengals won. They hosted Tampa Bay, in Cincinnati, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won. So the Bengals overall do have the wood on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if I'm not mistaken, and I really hope I'm not, this is the first time ever, and it might be the only time ever, that Tom Brady will take on Joe Burrow. That's a massive, absolutely huge matchup this weekend to savor, to look forward to. I'm going to tip the Cincinnati Bengals, who look like they're just scoring wise are much better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers suffered their worst loss since 2020 when they went down to the Saints 35-3. So Tampa Bay, they're not in good form. Bengals are. I'm going to go the Bengals to win this one 1-12 in a beauty. The Washington Commanders host the New York Giants, and the Washington Commanders are $1.46 favorites. The Giants are $1.74 $2.74 outsiders, apologies. And these two sides only met a couple of weeks ago, and it was a draw. The Giants had the better of the game, in my opinion, but the Commanders definitely got it together finally. And this is also an 8th versus 9th top 8 scenario as well, man. This is huge, bro. But I like what the Commanders are doing, and I'm going to tip the Commanders to win this one 1-12. And finally, on Monday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers host the Los Angeles Rams, and the Green Bay Packers are $1.27 favourites, and the Los Angeles Rams are $3.80 outsiders. Oh man, that's a lot of value. That's pretty big value on the Rams, but I understand that Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp, they're all still out, and it was against the Raiders that they got their victory last weekend, so I can understand them being outsiders, but the Green Bay Packers haven't been all that much better than the Los Angeles Rams this year. So Baker Mayfield, he travels to Green Bay as well to take on Aaron Rodgers. Or really, I think, was Aaron Rodgers injured a couple of weeks ago? Well, in any event, I am going to tip the Green Bay Packers, but at $3.80, man, I don't think the margin's going to be 13 plus to Green Bay. I think this is going to be 1 to 12 to Green Bay. Yo, that's it for me this weekend, guys. Thank you very much for the continuing support in 2022. Next weekend, I'm going to be doing a live stream for these tips, and I'm going to be joined by Entertain House as well as part of a special Christmas live stream episode as well for the NFL. So thank you to him for joining me, and thank you to you once more for the continuous support. I hope your team wins this weekend, except for the San Francisco 49ers, and I'll see you guys over the next couple of days. Adios.